What can we learn from someone who has survived a massive heart attack? A heart attack nicknamed the widowmaker. That's what we're talking about today on The Healthy Dude. I'm Kurt Williams, and this one hits close to home because the person we're talking to is our friend, our colleague, Blaine Stewart. This guy.
That guy.
That's a pretty good shot.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Hair's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything about that. So this is how I know Blaine is back, because of the sense of humor and how are you feeling?
A lot better than I was. Every day's a little better.
Because we weren't sure whether you were going to make it. What do you walk us through? What do you remember leading up to this massive heart attack?
Part of what I've had to deal with in this recovery is a tremendous amount of memory loss. There's not a lot I remember, not only from the day it happened back in June of last year, but weeks and months leading up to that day. No clue what happened. What I am told is with us folks in D.C., we were going to a Nationals game, and as we were walking out of our hotel, I started to feel weird, and apparently I'm told that I was being very angry and very agitated about things. And apparently the next thing that happened was I collapsed in the hotel lobby, and there's a heart attack.
So that's what you've been told?
That's what I'm told.
But what do you remember?
Nothing. I don't remember anything about that day. Don't remember anything about that week.
So you don't remember being in D.C. to go to the Nats game?
Oh, no, not at all. No, that is a memory that I wish I could remember that. No clue.
And then what do you first remember about, I guess, waking up?
Yeah, it was probably about two or 3 weeks after my first memories. Apparently I was up before, but not really that mentally there. And I just remember being in a hospital bed in D.C. Look over, I see Brent TV's Brendan Ponton, sitting next to me. And I remember it's like, what's going on here? Why are we here? And then when you find out what happened, it's strange because part of me, of course, you freak out. You wake up in a hospital bed and someone says you just had a massive heart attack and probably shouldn't be alive right now. You hear that and it's terrifying. But as someone who for years has thought I'm probably going to die of a heart attack because that's what happens in our family.
You never joked about it with me, but just from some of our colleagues, they shared with me that you've kind of joked about that.
Yeah. I've always known and expected that I'm going to have a heart attack one day. That's what happens in our family. Our hearts are bad. My grandmother had her first heart attack at age 32. My grandfather died of a massive heart attack at age 51. So that's 2 years older than what I am right now. It happens in our family. We have horrible hearts.
So when you were kind of joking about it, was there a fear that it could happen, or were you trying to laugh off a serious situation? Or?
I think that's what it is. It's never been a fear. I'm not looking forward to dying one day again.
Yeah, because you did.
I did die.
You did die.
Thankfully, the folks in D.C. were able to bring me back, but technically for just a minute there, I was no longer around. And that's something that, you think of looking back, you're probably going to have heart problems because that's what happens in our family. I didn't realize it was going to happen this early. I'm 49. It was 48 when it happened. It's pretty young to have a heart attack.
How do you, and you kind of jokingly said, hey, I don't want to die again. But how do you process this brush with death?
I don't know that I have even started that, because how do you do that? I will sit at home alone and think, you were dead. You died last year, only for a bit. thank God they brought me back. But to process that, the first thing I think of is, so why? Why did this happen? What's the purpose now? I'm back here for some reason.
Have you?
And I
was going to ask, have you gotten answers to those questions?
I wish I got those answers. I'm just trying to appreciate every second of the day. And obviously you learn that time is something that ends for you one day. It's a horrible way to realize that.
But that's got to be a mind trip to be able to say, I died. And now you're back. And do you say you're working on those answers, but I mean, are you working on some possibilities on why you survived and what you're supposed to do with this?
I can't wait until I figure that out. And I have no clue right now. I'm just, I have to remind myself here and there, oh yeah, this thing happened last year, which is great. I feel a lot better, and there are multiple times during the day where I forget that any of that happened, and I'm just moving on with life. And then, oh yeah, that's right, you died last year. And that's something that's hard to deal with. I mean, there are nights where I am up sleepless, can't even get my mind to wrap around all of that. It's not scary. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to die.
Because you've already done it.
You've
been there, done that.
And well, the thing is that not a lot of people, I guess, could probably say this.
No.
I died, and I don't know anything about it. It's not like I remembered that part. Yeah. So whenever that does happen again at some point, it's not going to be, I don't know, as scary as I thought it would be before all of this. I don't know if that's a strange way of having some sort of comfort about the dying process one day.
So, I mean, not only are you, kind of wrestling with the why did this happen and what am I supposed to do now, but also wrestling with it just so happened that there were two off-duty military personnel that were in town for another event who happened to be in that lobby room, the area, and sprung into action. And we're about to hear from the chief of cardiology for Centera, but he's clear that without that intervention, you would not be here. So, the fact that they just happened to be there in town for an unrelated event, a military parade, and they went into action.
It is still very difficult to imagine just how that all worked out. There is a reason those two guys were there in that hotel lobby at that time. I mean, what are the odds, right? Of all the people who could have been there, you put those at the top of the list, right? And I would give anything to be able to shake their hands and to thank you. I mean, those are the people who saved my life. And it's just bizarre to go back and just think of what could have happened if they would not have been there.
Well, it gave so many of us hope when it looked like even after you had survived, there was that period where there was limited brain activity. I mean, you survived, but then it was like, okay, but what kind of quality of life will you have? And the one thing I know that gave me hope, I was like thinking, now that's just not a coincidence that those two off-duty military guys were there. That, my estimation, all right, God has a plan for Blaine. Because there's no point in coming back from a heart attack and then your quality of life is like nothing. And so that's, when it was looking very bleak, that's what allowed many of us to kind of hang on some hope that Blaine is coming back.
It's, I've been told from some of the folks who were there in the first days that doctors tell them probably not going to make it through the weekend. Go ahead and say your goodbyes. And the fact that it's been, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months after that and seem to be doing okay.
Yes.
Now I ask myself every day, okay, why? So why am I here? Don't know the answer to that question. I just try every day I cherish every minute. I am not, you know me, I'm not the kind of guy to get like that. I am a cranky old man. And
Well, you're not cranky.
yeah. Listen, yeah, we're knocking on the door being really old. But this is so cheesy.
No, but I mean, you have to wonder how something like this.
I love life.
Yes.
And I don't know that I would have said that years ago.
Let's talk about your health before this massive heart attack. How would you describe your health before this heart attack?
Not ideal. Listen, I'm a kid from New Orleans. What do we like to do? We like to eat. My cardiovascular health has never been something that I should have been proud of, for sure. I never had any serious health problems, but also never really went to the doctor. So I don't really know. I mean,
do you know why? I got to ask. Is there? I mean, we have pretty decent health care.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you didn't go to the doctor for like annual checkups?
Because if you don't go to the doctor, you don't know if you're sick. And that's a horrible way to live. Go to the doctor, boys and girls. But
was it because of your family history that you didn't want to go because you were afraid of what you might hear?
I think that was sort of like maybe not top of mind, but that's obviously part of it. It's just I don't want to go in and get that bad news. It's strange because if you think back, well, of course, what would have happened if maybe 10 years ago I was going to the doctor? Hey, look, we might have some blockage issues. Over the next few years, let's try to fix that. Would I be in a different situation right now? So I wish I could have gone back in time and done all the things that I probably should have done. So do it if you're watching.
But I mean, you are not alone. I've had conversations with other people that say, I don't want to know. I mean, people who are aware that they have a family history, which you would think that those people would be like really just blazing a trail to the doctor's office.
That's what they should be doing.
But they don't want to know. But then there's the price that you can pay for not knowing.
It's, one of the main reasons is, and I'm sure this is certainly a common thing, I was terrified of dying. Terrified of dying, which, is pretty normal. Yeah. I would imagine nobody really wants to sign up for that. And so I just didn't want to know what was going on in my body because I didn't want to get bad news.
All right, so there is so much more that we want to get to Blaine. So we're going to take a quick break, but much more to come on this special Healthy Dude segment. Welcome back to The Healthy Dude. We are continuing our conversation with Blaine Stewart, who survived a massive heart attack, and what we can learn from that. How much weight have you lost?
I lost 80 pounds.
Jeez.
So, got to buy a lot of new clothes. And it's
not a diet that you would recommend.
No, I'm not saying this is the best way to lose weight, but I'm looking at silver linings wherever I can find them. And in this case, I feel a lot better in that regard.
But you literally had to buy new clothes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, entirely. Every piece of clothing I wear is new. I mean, I haven't been this, I'm not going to say thin. I haven't been this less fat since high school. These are the size of clothes I wear in high school.
I remember when you first came, though. I mean, when you first, how long ago?
It's been 19 years.
Yeah. When you started here,
it was normal. You know, I wasn't like a supermodel, but it was definitely better.
Did you have concerns about, or did it ever cross your mind before the heart attack? I could probably lose a few pounds.
Oh yeah. Weight was always a struggle for me. I was a regular kid, was never athletic or anything like that. And by the time I got into my 20s, food became a very comfortable thing to embrace. And that's just been a struggle my entire life. The weight would fluctuate, go up, go down, and you lose it. You think, okay, this is it now. I'm on the right path, and then 5 years later, you're back to where you started from, if not worse. And so that's been just something that I dealt with my entire life.
Do you have any sense from the doctors who have treated you and the tests that were run? I mean, do you have any sense of whether it was mainly family history, it was weight, it was cholesterol completely unchecked?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any sense what were the culprits?
I think it's a gumbo of all of that, to use a food term. I mean, obviously,
a food term from New Orleans.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Got to remember the roots. But I think obviously family history and all of that plays a huge role in it. But then I didn't do anything to combat that over the decades leading up to this. And so I think it's a 1-2 punch that was almost a knockout.
Well, fortunately, you survived the knockout.
Yeah.
So what changes have you had to make?
Well, I think the main thing is just moving. Like, I am a really big fan of not doing things. If I can do something or not do something, I'm going to not do something. I like to relax. We don't have stressful, crazy jobs most days. It's very sedentary.
Yeah.
We sit at our desks a lot during the day, and then when I go home and that was a long day, guess I better sit down. And so moving, I do something every day, whether it's going downstairs to the treadmill, whether it's walking through the neighborhood. I'm still not allowed to work out at the gym and be Kurt Williams Jr., but one day we'll get there. But it is.
What have they said? I mean, what have they said about what you can and can't do as far as exercise?
So I'm not cleared to go, back to the gym and do things like that. But walking, stairs, things like that, I can do unsupervised.
What changes did they force on you, or have you chosen to make regarding your diet, what you can and can't eat?
It's interesting too, because even still now, my appetite is not nearly what it used to be. It's a process that I'm trying to work with, and realizing that food is something that is required for me to live. Not necessarily. I mean, you're from New Orleans. Some folks only eat to live. In New Orleans, we live to eat.
Because after this, after all of your treatment, I mean, you really struggled to have an appetite to eat.
I mean, I went for a week at one point without eating a single thing, and wasn't hungry. It wasn't like I can't eat anymore. Not hungry. The appetite was gone for quite some time.
Have they explained why that? I mean, is that normal for after you survive a heart attack?
I'm told that does happen, not perhaps as severe as my situation was, and I'm back home now, and I can eat like I used to.
And so are you cleared to eat whatever you want to eat, or have they encouraged you to?
Oh, yeah. It's, lean meats, lots of fruits and vegetables, things like that. Things that I should have been doing years and years before.
Watch the sodium?
Right. I give myself one cheat meal a week because otherwise I would probably go crazy. But a lot of salads, a lot of grilled chicken, a lot of vegetables. It's so fun. It sounds like a Kurt Williams diet.
What's, for the people who are listening, this could be like one of your, God, why am I here? And so for the people who are listening, what do you hope their takeaways are?
I think my thing, and it's something that I would have listened to years and years before, is just, you've got to take care of yourself. You don't have to be, the next Olympian. It doesn't mean you have to be that fit or strong or healthy, but just do something. Do something for yourself. Do something for yourself that impacts your family and friends. I mean, I got to tell you, having a heart attack and technically dying is not the best way to get a reminder that you're loved. But I have never felt in my life the love that I've had over the past few months from friends and family. And so it really was a reminder to me of the impact that you can have on the people that you care and love. And so you want to live for yourself, but I want to live for the other people too. It's a strange way to feel, but
I'm sure. Some people either don't know their family history because they've never asked the question. I mean,
Right.
it's never you're at the dinner table, hey, so Dad, when's the last time you had a heart attack? I mean, it's just, when's the last time you had prostate cancer or whatever. So, I mean, what do you want to speak to about that for the people who are listening now about knowing your family history?
yeah, I think the thing is, don't be afraid to find out. That's what it was for me. I was just afraid to learn anything about my medical history, my medical future, and what that possibility might be. Don't be afraid, because the knowledge is power.
And then also, I guess it's not just knowing your family history, seeking that out. Maybe maybe you could be estranged from your parents
Sure.
or whatever. But I mean, so not only getting that information, but then, okay, now that I know this, I need to act on it.
What do I do? And it's strange, because before all of this happened, in the back of my mind, I have this thought of, okay, like, you've got a health problem. Your whole family has health problems when it comes to hearts and health, being healthy with food and exercise. So something's going to happen at some point. It's just going to knock on the door one day. And on the other side of that, I feel in a strange way empowered from all of this, because I now know that, okay, I am so fortunate to be able to do this again. I get a second chance, literally a second chance at life. So how am I going to make it to where I don't have I'm not sitting in a hospital bed in 5 years again having my second heart attack, and maybe it doesn't work out as well as last time.
Is that a fear?
I think I've tried to make it not a fear and more of a motivator. I obviously don't want to go through that again. I don't want my family and friends to go through that again. So how do I make sure that doesn't happen? And that's just a daily choice that you have to make. You wake up and say, okay, I mean, I could be sitting at home right now having a large pizza and, just watching TV and things like that. Or I can, get up and move. And listen, I'm now less than a year away from being 50. Which, you say that out loud, it's, I know older folks like you think that's...
Yes. It's funny how as you get older, when you hear someone say, oh, I'm about to turn 50, you go, oh, that's a kid. Yeah,
Right.
he's a kid.
Right. No, it's true.
Briefly, I just want to ask something about the memory issue.
That's an issue.
So how did you process, coming back to work, and it's like, okay, is it like riding a bike? Is the memory issue going to have any bearing on that? How did you process all of that?
When I sat down at the anchor desk a few weeks ago for the first time in however many months, I was terrified. I was terrified because I didn't know if I would be able to do it. Listen, a lot of people think, you sit on the news and read the words. It's a little more difficult than that mentally.
Oh, there are ad-libbing. The teleprompter goes out. There's just processing information. Somebody gets in your ear and says, hey, we've got this breaking news. I mean,
Right.
it's more than just, reading off of a teleprompter. And I was wondering what was going through your mind is like, okay, what's going to come back?
Yeah, and I did not know, sitting in that hospital bed, if I'd be able to come back. There were nights where I thought, well, my career's over, not going back to work, because I didn't know if I'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
I worked with speech therapists to learn how to read again.
Really?
To read out loud, and what are these words? And it was a process that made me realize how fortunate I was to be able to have that kind of talent to be able to read the news. But and I had to learn I had to learn how to read words again. It's that's wild.
It is. Is there, before we let you go, is there, since there's stuff that you don't remember, is there, is in some ways, is that a good thing that maybe you don't remember what it's like to die and you don't remember how close you came to not coming back?
I go back and forth on how much I want or wanted to know about that day. Part of me wants to know everything, just because if you're a journalist, you want to know everything. You don't want to be sheltered. And also, I want to know how I felt leading up to it. So if it ever happens again, I can get help, right away. But, I was with some folks, my dearest favorite people on the earth who were taking care of me during that day, getting me back to the hospital, calling 911. They've told me, I think, what I need to know about that day, and that's enough. I mean, I want to go back to where it happened, to kind of walk that block, just to see if anything comes back.
Oh, so you do want to do that?
Oh, I want to do that. You're a journalist. You want to know everything, right? And I think I need to do that so I can just experience that, and maybe something comes back in my mind, and maybe it doesn't. But I want to be there.
All right. Well, so to help fill in some of those spaces, we are about to hear from Centerra's chief of cardiology, and he's going to walk us through. And then we're going to talk to you on the other side of that. But up next, we hear from Centerra's chief heart guy, Dr. Talreja. That's coming up right after this. Welcome back to The Healthy Dude. We are now joined by, this is like a return appearance, Dr. Deepak Talreja, chief of cardiology from Centerra Health. We just heard from this guy right here, who, thank the Lord, is doing so much better now, and he's now back at work. But he understandably doesn't remember much about what happened leading up to his heart attack and just those whole events. And so how this was a massive heart attack.
Blaine was very fortunate. He's just like any of us out there, right? Not suspecting anything's going on with his heart, and he has a massive heart attack that could have taken his life.
In fact, the name for it is, did he have a widowmaker?
He had a widowmaker blockage, that's right.
The name comes from, this is the kind of heart attack that can kill you.
It can. Many people don't survive this kind of heart attack.
In fact, his heart stopped beating.
It did. So he actually had a true heart attack with cardiac arrest. His heart stopped beating and he had to be resuscitated.
Can we say, so did he die?
Clinically, he died.
And if not for those two military personnel who were, this happened up in D.C., they just happened to be in the same hotel lobby. I don't just happen to. I just say, look, man, God had those two guys there. If not for that intervention, these two military personnel who were in town for an unrelated event, some big military parade, but they sprung into action. If not for their intervention, what likely would have happened?
Absolutely, he would not be here today. He would have died that day.
And, I've asked Blaine, what do you remember about what happened leading up to it? And of course, it's all foggy. But I've talked to some of his friends who were with him, and that day of, they said he seemed kind of agitated and like didn't want to be bothered. And then later on, he fainted, regained consciousness. They thought he was having some kind of heat, stroke or heat-related issues. They gave him ice and water, and then he, the big collapse.
Yes.
What was he having? A series of heart attacks?
He probably was, and he probably had blockages that were coming and going in that artery, and likely rhythm abnormalities that were caused by lack of blood flow. And that's what usually causes the ultimate collapse that he had. And it's easy to blow off those symptoms. What of us haven't felt fatigued or a little lightheaded or tired out, especially going in the heat of the summer, going to an event, maybe we had a drink, maybe a little dehydration. It's easy to blow off symptoms like that. But that was the beginning symptoms of the heart attack that almost took his life.
So that is the question, is like, how do I know that this isn't heartburn or acid reflux or something? How do we know?
That's the holy grail of the field of cardiology, is figuring out how do we get people to be aware of this. I think there are two things. First of all, you've been a great educator in the community with the segments you've done in the heart that I've had a chance to listen to, continually teaching people the importance of CPR, as we just talked about, and learning to recognize symptoms. I think anytime someone doesn't feel right, it's worth thinking about. They did the right first steps. Cooling him down, hydration makes sense. As the episodes get worse, it's important to think about seeking medical attention. We have emergency rooms all around. Think about whether you need to go to the emergency room or at least getting EMS to come check you out. They can do an EKG. And an EKG test in that early period might have actually picked up that this is the heart.
But the thing is, you don't want to be running to the emergency room every time and it's like, yo,
That's
bro,
true.
you just had some acid reflux. So, are there like unmistakable signs?
There are some. The challenge is nothing's 100% accurate. But you're right. Some of the things that make you especially think about this maybe being a more heart-related event are, one, your risk factor status. If you're a smoker, if you're older, if you have a strong family history, if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol. Those are things that should make you think a little bit more early on in the game that this could be my heart. If you're a young 20-year-old who's healthy and running marathons and you have a bad day, it's less likely that's the case. But nothing's 100%. The symptoms you describe, shortness of breath, tightness in the chest, especially if it radiates or moves towards the jaw or the arm, a little more the left arm. If things don't feel right and there's not another immediate explanation, and simple maneuvers like hydrating don't take it away, those are things that make you want to think more about heart. But the challenge is exactly what you said, is there's no absolute discriminator. And there are plenty of patients I've taken care of who had symptoms that in retrospect you say, yep, this really would have been the heart. But it could have been a million other things too, and that's the challenge here.
You mentioned family history. Blaine has a family history.
Yes.
In fact, Blaine would, you talk to some of his coworkers. He would joke that it may happen to him. What can we learn about if you have a family history? How does that change what you should be doing?
Great question. So the first things are, if you have a family history, taking your health in your own hands, exercising, eating healthfully, reducing stress are simple things any person can do for themselves at any phase of life, whether you're 10 or 100. Those are things we should be thinking about. The second thing is talking with your primary care doctor and asking, have we checked my cholesterol? Primary care doctors do a great job with routinely getting that. But each patient, especially with a family history, should know their own numbers and learn what those numbers mean.
Blaine acknowledges that he was not the best of getting regular checkups.
And that's really common, especially a young, relatively healthy person. But that's the importance of having a primary care doc, doing screening events. We've talked before about cardiac CT scans, coronary calcium scans, stress tests. If you're having any symptoms, if you're high risk, often your doctor, primary care doctor, or cardiologist will recommend some form of proactive testing, and that can be life-saving.
Is there any way to know in Blaine's situation what was the biggest contributor to his heart attack? People stop him and go, "Oh my goodness, you've lost so much weight."
Yes.
Is there a way of knowing, was the biggest contributor family history, being overweight, not getting screened to find out what your cholesterol numbers are? Is there a way to know?
It's usually a combination, and the truth is I would say neither of those was more likely. I think the family history, the way we say it is your family history and your genetics load the gun, and your environment pulls the trigger. He had both of those contributing factors. His family history put him at a little bit higher risk to develop those problems, and then a lifestyle which is very common in this country but probably could be improved a little bit was what pulled the trigger and really put him at that risk so early in life.
All right, there's much more we want to ask you. We want to take a quick break because one thing I want to unpack with you is, like, going forward, what does Blaine and what do the rest of us need to keep in mind. That's after this quick break. Welcome back to The Healthy Dude, continuing our conversation with Dr. Deepak Talreja, Chief of Cardiology with Sentara Health, talking about good friend, coworker, Blaine Stewart, his miraculous recovery. And, a lot of people will throw around the word miraculous, but his was a miraculous
It truly was a miracle.
recovery, because was there a point where Blaine had limited brain activity?
There was. And so after he was resuscitated by those gentlemen in the lobby, he was brought into the hospital services in the D.C. area. And when they first saw him, he wasn't responding to anything. He was requiring a ventilator to do his breathing for him. And he had no response on his own. And even in the period shortly after that, CAT scans, EEGs were very concerning that he had suffered irreparable brain death, to the level that there was even conversation about, is there even a chance of him meaningfully recovering? Should we stop doing everything and let him pass peacefully? But his family and his friends really were in his corner and stood behind him and said, let's give him every chance to recover.
He had a prayer chain like I've never seen of, viewers, definitely coworkers. I mean, everyone. And I just remember, because it was scary. I mean, it was like looking really bleak, and we were like, let's just keep praying and believing. But when we were hearing like limited brain activity, so even after you get, I mean, he had those two military personnel, he had the paramedics, respond. Even after all that, I mean, if it is like this massive heart attack, I mean, it can put you on a path where you have limited brain activity.
It absolutely can. He had CPR, he had multiple shocks, he received medicines like adrenaline to try to get his heart started again. And during CPR, we hope we're getting enough blood flow to the brain to keep the brain going until we can get the heart started again. But the longer CPR runs, even with the best of CPR, ultimately the brain really isn't getting enough oxygen, and that can cause it to be stunned, or it can cause an anoxic encephalopathy, brain death.
And right afterwards, I mean, there were some memory issues. I mean, I remember having conversations with Blaine, and a lot of us, when we went to visit him at the hospital, and then, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes later, we were covering the same material again.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yes, great question. And so I remember the same thing when I visited him at Sentara Norfolk General Hospital when he was sent over. I had a good conversation with him. He was conversant. Just talking to him, he could carry a good conversation on, but he wasn't retaining any information. It would be in one ear and out the other. And so the parts of the brain responsible for memory, especially short-term memory and memory from the incident on, weren't working very well.
And then also, I guess the impact of this is it was impacting other organs. I mean, he had to be put on kidney dialysis.
That's right.
Why?
The kidneys, the liver, just like the brain doesn't get oxygen, the rest of the organs in the body don't get oxygen either. And the most sensitive one, the first one to fail, is typically the brain because it uses so much of the oxygen. But the brain, the heart, while they're first, are often followed by failure of the kidneys, the liver, and you can even have limb loss where muscles get gangrenous and so forth and have to be cut off. Now, he never got to that stage, fortunately, but one by one, the organs of the body shut down when they don't get oxygen.
What turned things around for Blaine?
So you brought up prayer. I'm a believer in that as well. Maybe that was a part of this. I think excellent medical care, getting him on track, giving him a little time for his body. He's a young man, getting his body to heal itself a little bit too while giving him the right medicines to restore blood flow and give his body a chance to improve. That combination made the difference.
How do you wrestle with, all right, how much are we, when there's limited brain activity, how much are we going to do to try to turn things around when you're also wanting to weigh quality of life issues? I mean, how do you wrestle with that?
This is one of the most difficult things in medicine because we have to make that decision of how long do we support someone while we give them a chance to get better. We can do tests like EEGs and MRIs and CTs, but they're all only a part of the story. Really, many patients, it takes time to recover. Now, no one wants to be on a ventilator for months and months and months with no recovery. So having guidance from family as to what are a patient's wishes, having the support of friends, loved ones, colleagues, prayers, gives us the time while we're patient to see if he's going to improve. And he was one of those lucky people who, through God's will, through the help everyone gave him along the way, really got to that stage. He started recovering. And I still don't think he's fully done recovering. I think it's going to go on for many years to come still. But he's made remarkable strides in the time I've seen.
Going forward for Blaine, and as far as what takeaways we can learn, I mean, what are the most critical things for Blaine to keep in mind going forward?
What a great question. And you brought up a lot of these in previous segments. Number one, all of us need to learn CPR and basic health care. Number two,
I got to ask you about CPR, and I know I ask you every time, but I'm sure, I even find myself wondering, like, all right, is it, as far as where, I mean, what are right now, mouth to mouth is not so much critical.
That's right. It's more important just to get the compressions going. And what you're trying to do is, it doesn't matter which hand you use, but you press on the front of the breastbone, the sternum, and you're trying to get 1 inch to 2 inches deep. So it's serious CPR. And as we've discussed before, that often is breaking bones as you're doing it. But just getting the blood circulating, usually there's enough oxygen for the first 8 to 10 minutes that the important part's not worrying about who's going to do mouth to mouth and so forth, but just getting that blood circulating.
And finding a song, there's certain songs, but like Staying Alive from the Bee Gees is one of them. His diet, what does he want to be keeping in mind? And what do we want to be keeping in mind?
And there's a lot of controversy on diet and nutrition. We have a program called the Pritikin Program. You've had recent discussions about that. That probably captures what I believe, which is, in general, the simple things are we should eat the right amount. Most of us eat too much. We can cut portion sizes. More natural foods, less processed foods. Less salt, more fruits and veggies. Probably the healthiest diet out there is more of a vegan, vegetarian type diet. I'm not vegetarian myself, but I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And when I eat meats, I get leaner cuts, less fried foods, more healthfully prepared. That's the basics of it. And then on top of that, a regular exercise program. 30 minutes, at least 5 days a week.
You mentioned, sodium, and because of high blood pressure that runs in my family, and, taking steps to deal with hypertension. Why is that so critical in dealing with a heart issue?
Great question. And so sodium makes you retain fluid. It increases the amount of fluid in your body, so your heart has to handle more volume as it pumps around. That results typically in a higher blood pressure. Not for everyone, but for many people. Unfortunately, the 3 things that make foods seductive to us are salt, sugar, and fat. So they're packed with that stuff.
Yeah. Last thing, I know we're about to show some of this to Blaine. What do you want to say about regular checkups?
Regular checkups are critical. It's sad to see in this country, most of us take better care of our cars, where we get the oil change and everything else, than we do of our own bodies. And the car you're going to get rid of, hopefully, in 10, 20 years. Your body's going to be with you your whole lifetime. So you are right. Regular checkups with a good primary care doctor you're seeing and any specialists you need are absolutely critical.
And know your numbers.
Know your numbers.
All right. Dr. Talreja, I always love having you on. Thank you. I appreciate that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to show some of this to Blaine to give him a better understanding of what actually happened.
I think that's great, and I'm grateful Blaine's willing to share his story. He's a great guy, and he's like any one of the rest of us. This could happen to anyone. If you saw him a week before this, you never would have guessed he would be in this situation.
All right, thank you. And that's going to be next on The Healthy Dude. All right, we are back with Blaine Stewart on The Healthy Dude. We just heard from Dr. Talreja, who came and visited you, who was overseeing a lot of your care.
This is really cool to hear my name and the words healthy dude in the same sentence.
Right?
So I like that.
And see, you qualify, because you survived. But do you recall meeting Dr. Talreja?
I'm told I met him. This is the first time I remember seeing this man's face.
He had conversations with you. I mean, he was, a big part in helping with your care. And so I it's part of those memory issues during that window, right before the attack and right afterwards.
It's interesting because I have forgotten a lot of things. When I am reminded of those things, like I saw his face, okay, yeah, that guy looks familiar. I believe that I have met him. And there are other things people will remind me of. Hey, don't you remember you did this? I'd forgotten about it, but yeah, that sounds right. So it's interesting how the object of like suggesting, like, hey, I think you remember this, don't you? Oh, yeah. That.
You remember I loaned you $1,000 and we agreed to some really stiff terms on the repayment interest.
That one doesn't ring a bell. We'll talk about that later.
So in listening to what he was saying, what jumps out?
It's, I'm not going to say it's scary, but you hear that and you think, okay, yeah, you've really got to step up. There's a lot I need to do to stay alive in the future, and making sure I take care of myself in many different ways. It's really easy to not do things. And so it's an everyday.
When you say it's easy not to do things, like do what things?
Like to exercise, to take care of yourself. It's way easier to not take care of yourself in the short term. I mean, obviously the long-term impact is far worse, but it is a daily promise I have to make to myself that, okay, you've got to do this today. You've got to move your butt, get out, do a walk, do some treadmill stuff. Okay, nope, you're having the salad today. You're not going to go to Popeyes. God, I miss Popeyes.
That could be your cheat day, though, right?
I do allow one cheat meal
Yeah.
a week, and those are the best.
Hey, he referred to you. I think he said, "What, your young life?"
He said I was young.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, there you go. You were worried about you're coming up on 50, and that, again for me, hey, you are a young buck. But he said that there, but that you will continue to get better. How did that hit you?
Well, I think what he said that really stuck with me is, it's up to me. Now, I have to do this. I have to do either it's the food, if it's the exercise, it's the actual going to the doctor thing, which, I've done a lot more doctor visits in the past 6 months than I have in my life, probably. But I've got to take responsibility for my life. And the thing is, if I don't, then it's gone. And I think this is something that I have learned over the past few months. I can't stick my head in the sand and just try not to think about it, because then I just won't think about it anymore, because I won't be here.
Well, piggybacking off of that, I mean, when you have those moments where it's like, man, I really don't feel like taking the stairs. I'm going to take the elevator.
Right.
When what pushes you to maybe what, as you put it, it's easy not to do anything.
Right.
What pushes you to put in the work?
And I'll say it doesn't always work. I'm not 100% great on this, but it's a lot better than it was before. And it's
Down in the newsroom, I saw you doing one-handed push-ups, and I'm thinking, man, this guy is.
Look out! Yeah.
But what goes through your mind when you're like, ooh, elevator, stairs? Huh.
It's just a reminder that I have been given this gift of a second chance of life, so I don't want to mess it up. I want to do as much as I can do to make sure that I'm going to be 50 next year, that I turn 51. I'm not ready to be done with life. And so I've just got to stand up and realize that it's up to me.
As you're on this journey of figuring out the why, are there things that you are, I don't know, journaling may sound kind of cliche-ish, but I mean, are there things that you are doing that are trying to help you find that, all right, what now? You refer to it as a gift. You've been given
Right.
this gift. Are there things that you're doing to try to figure out, all right, what do I do with this gift?
Yeah, I think the thing that I've started doing in the recovery and since is to be more vocal with the people I love, and to make sure they know that I love them.
Yeah.
And I can come across as a pretty curmudgeonly man.
You are hard on yourself, man. You have a great sense of humor. I mean, before this,
I'm not a hugs and kisses kind of guy.
But now you are giving people their flowers while they're still around.
Well, I'm still around.
Yes. That's true.
I want people to know the people in my life who I care about. I need to make sure they know that, because I feel there's so much gratitude that I have. People, did so much for me over the past 6, 7, 8 months, whether it's hospital visits, whether it's cooking for me, whether it's just calling or texting, whether it's just sitting on the couch next to me for an hour and not saying a word. This is a horrible way to learn that you're loved, but that sort of thing, I want to sort of somehow take that energy and remember how grateful I am now and carry that on.
All right, we're going to close with a 3 things segment. You and Anthony Sabello sometimes do this segment on 3 things to do in Hampton Roads.
Okay.
This is because we covered a lot here. 3 things, news 3, we had to do something in 3.
Good thing we're not Channel 22.
3 important takeaways that you want to leave with the viewers, the listeners.
I think number 1 is listen to your body, listen to yourself. I mean, there are a lot of times where I can look back now and think, yeah, my body was telling me that I was not on the right track, and you just ignore it. So number one, listen to yourself,
listen
to your body.
Listen to your body.
Number 2 is to embrace life. Obviously, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed the next 10 minutes. So to just savor the moments that we have and just embrace that. You don't have to be, Oprah. You know what I mean? But remember that this is a gift.
You're right. I mean, to be present. You're right. I think a lot of people, we get up and we assume, all right, I'm going to go to work, go to school, and then tonight I'll come home and have dinner. Maybe I'll go work. Right. But you're right. It every moment is a gift. So that's important. All right. So that's 2.
Number 3. Why can't we?
You didn't realize that there was going to be a pop quiz.
Why
on this.
can't we be Channel 2? I just think the last thing is to. What was the first? I don't want to say something I said already.
The first one was listen to your body.
Okay, yeah.
The second one was to be present. Life is a gift. And
I would say number 3 is to make sure the people you love, the people in your life who are closest to you, make sure they know you love them. Because
our thoughts don't do anything. We can really be thinking some great thoughts. We can be thinking, but man, it's good to hear. I love you. You mean a lot to me.
To be able to share your love and to display it is something that I've not always been great at doing, and so that's something that I'm working on.
Okay. And I'm just going to throw in a bonus one, number 4. That is, know your family history. Really be intentional about knowing your family history and then act on it. And and even if your family's history is just wonderful, know your numbers, know your cholesterol numbers, know your blood pressure numbers, for men, know your PSA. Know your numbers. Blaine, it is, I'm glad that, that you can sit across from me and have this conversation, because there was a time where we weren't so sure about that. So, and, thanks for being transparent. I'm sure this is not that easy to be so vulnerable and transparent like this.
If this helps one person, cool. Then we did it for the right reason, and I'm glad that it happened.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
And this has been The Healthy Dude. We thank you for joining us. I'm Kurt Williams.